All right, good morning everyone. What we're going to do is we're going to show you the different parts of the rope to begin with, and then after this what we're going to do is we're going to go through how to tie various knots. Finally, we'll show you how to tie them according to various types of equipment. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure you understand the parts of the rope and some of the terminology that we're talking about. Three parts that we're talking about. We're talking about a working end, a standing end, and a running end. So the first terminology, working end. The working end is the part of the rope that I'm using to tie my knot. I try to think of it like this. That knot is doing the work of securing the piece of equipment. So it's working, all right? The other end of my rope is called the running end. I think of it this way. The running end is running up into the building so that I can use that to hoist up the piece of equipment that I want to bring into the building. In between my running end and my working end is my standing end. My standing end is just that piece of it that's in between both of those sides. All right, so the first knot that we're going to do is called the clove hitch. Now this is a clove hitch that we're doing that is so that we can put it around an open object. We'll do a clove hitch again later on a piece of equipment around a closed object. So just make sure we understand that. So when I'm looking at a clove hitch, I got my working end over here, all right? I'm going to make two bends. I'm going to come over the top with my first bend, and you can see that my standing end is here. This is my working end. So my working end is on top of my standing end. I'm going to go to my working end, and I'm going to make another bend next to it. Only this time, the rest of that working end is on top. So I'm looking at my working end here on top, my standing end on the bottom of the center of this rope where my thumb is, all right? I take this, I bring the two ends together so you can see this cross right here with one on one side, one on the other side of the bend. This is my clove hitch. Now from here I can put this on an object, and we'll show you that in a little bit. Okay, so there's a number of ways that we can do a figure eight, all right? This is the way that I do it. It's very simple for me. First thing I'm going to do with my working end, I'm going to make a bite like this, all right? Now I've got that working end over my standing end. I'm going to go behind my standing end to grab my working end, and you can see the figure eight right here. I take this working end, I put it through my top loop. You can still see that figure eight there, and I can tighten it down like that. Okay, so with my figure eight, I showed you the way that I usually do it, and it works out well for me because I can remember it. Another way that you can do a figure eight, my working end here, my standing end here. I simply make two twists, 1, 2. I bring the rest of my working end up into my bite, and you can see my figure eight is right there. Now, I can do this the opposite way. So I brought it around once, twice, or I can go once, twice. Either way, I'm bringing my working end up and into that bite. And that's another simple way of doing a figure eight. Okay, figure eight with a bite. Again, working end is here, standing end is here. I'm going to make sure I have enough working end and enough standing end so that my bite up here, my figure eight's going to go down here by my left hand, all right? So I'm going to take this, and again, this is the way that I do it. I'm going to make a bite, and again, I'm reaching around my standing end to grab my loop over the top, and now I have my figure eight with a bite. Now, eventually what you're going to find out is we're going to do the next knot, which is going to be a figure eight follow through. It's going to end up looking like this as well. But there's a reason why we show you both, and we'll do that when we get to the tools. Okay, when I'm doing a figure eight follow through, the concept is I want to get my final bite that we saw in the last figure eight around a closed object. So I need to make sure I have enough of my working end to be able to do this, all right? So I will start my figure eight like that. I reach around, I bring this up and through my top loop, okay? So here's my figure eight. I take my working end here and I bring it back through. and I'm going to follow this line here because I'm making my bite with this. So this comes around, and however big that you need, this is what you're doing, all right? So I follow it through. I see it follows here, so I come around. I see it follows here and around this way. So I'm going to send this through here. It comes around, and then it comes right back through. That's my figure 8 follow through, and you can see it turns out to be the same thing as my figure 8 with a bite. All right, so the next knot that we're going to do is called the bowline. So I've got my working end here. I need enough working end to be able to eventually create my loop. So my first bite is right here. So I take my working end, and when I do this, I create my bite here. My working end needs to be on top of my standing end. I take the rest of my working end here, all right? Now, the way that I learn this goes like this. This is a rabbit. Rabbit comes out of the hole, all right? So as the rabbit comes out of the hole, I've created my bite, which is the purpose of this knot. My rabbit here goes around the tree, and the rabbit will go right back into the hole where it came out of. I hold on to these two parts here. I hold on, so my working end and my loop, I grab my standing end, and I tighten this down, and I have my bowline. I'll eventually put a safety on here.